Hi, my name is Anna, and every week I summarize a book for you. And if you are enjoying these videos, please show me your support by subscribing to my channel, like and comment on my videos. Engagement is what helps promote my work here on this platform, and I really do appreciate it. Today I will be discussing parenting from the inside out, how a deeper self-understanding can help you raise children who thrive, by Daniel Siegel, who is the same author who wrote The Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline that I have already summarized. This book is designed to help us make sense of our own life, both past and present, by developing an understanding of how our own childhood has influenced our life and affects our parenting in the present. It is about viewing being a parent as an opportunity to reparent ourselves and bring our own childhood traumas to the surface so we can take control of our life story and be the best parent we want to be. We all want to be great parents. The problem is that a lot of us are affected knowingly or unknowingly by past experiences that haven't been resolved. We can't change what happened to us as children, but we can change the way we think about those events. This book is very dense and full of scientific information, so it can be quite hard to digest. But I will summarize the main key points in a clear and concise way for you. First, we will define what these unresolved issues are. Then we will look at the neuroscience to understand the brain function and why we have these unresolved issues. And then we will look at specific steps we can take to heal from these issues. And if this topic of inner child healing is of special interest to you, please let me know in the comments so I know to bring more of this topic in terms of books or videos in the future. First, let's quickly define what we mean by unresolved issues. When we become parents, we bring with us issues from our own past. You can call it emotional baggage that influence how we parent our children in the present. It could be issues from your own childhood or even later on in life that has affected you. And it could be traumas with a big T like sexual abuse or physical abuse, or traumas with a little t like the fact that you were never allowed to show your emotions as a child. What matters is that it has affected you and it is affecting your relationships in the present. And if these experiences haven't been fully processed, they may affect the way we react to our children in the present. And the thing is, you may not have been ever triggered until you became a parent yourself, because you were not around children until this point. Or you may get triggered but not actually remember a specific event from your past. When we get triggered, our responses toward our children often take the form of a strong emotional reaction that makes us unable to think clearly and remain flexible with them. At these times, we are not acting like the parent we want to be, and we are often left wondering why parenting sometimes seems to bring out the worst in us. I know that for myself, I get triggered when my kids scream, and unfortunately my second child was a screamer from the time she was born. It creates a deep, intense reaction in my body. It's basically triggering the fight or flight response. It's a visceral reaction. I really feel it deeply, and I feel like I'm in danger and I need to protect myself. And like I said, sometimes we aren't even aware of why we are reacting in this way because we do not remember every single detail of our childhood. When we have unresolved issues, it's as if we are on autopilot, but we don't know where the pilot is taking us. We get triggered without understanding why, and we are just being reactive. We often try to control our children's feelings and behaviors, when actually it is our own internal experience that is triggering our upset feelings about their behavior. So why do we have unresolved issues? Why do events from the past influence our present? Let's take a look at neuroscience. Let's start with explaining the different forms of memory. There are two forms of memory: implicit memory and explicit memory. Implicit memory is formed without awareness that we are building a memory. And when retrieved, it lacks internal sensation that something is being recalled. It is completely unconscious. So for example, it is anything that has become an unconscious habit, like brushing your teeth or knowing how to ride a bike. Explicit memory is formed through studying, rehearsing, thinking, processing, and then storing information in the long-term memory. When recalled, we are completely conscious and we are actively looking for that memory. So for example, recalling specific events or remembering the dentist appointment you have for today. When we get triggered, we get overwhelmed with intrusive implicit memories and suddenly shift into a childhood mental state filled with that old and familiar sense of fear, rejection, anger, and despair. We are not even aware that our feelings are being generated from the past. For our mental well-being and to thrive in life, we need to integrate the various parts of our brain. We need to integrate those implicit memory into explicit memories. We also need to integrate the left and right sides of our brain, which is called horizontal integration, and the upstairs and downstairs brain, which is called vertical integration. One more is temporal integration, connecting the self across time in the past, present, and anticipated future. It's basically mental time travel. And the best way to achieve all these integrations is to put our experiences into stories. Stories are the way we make sense of the events in our lives. This is why journaling on our childhood can be so powerful. Thinking about how we felt when we were our child's age, for example, can bring up some things for you. This is how we connect the dots into a coherent narrative and can successfully process unresolved events from our past. When we interact with our child, their behaviors are filtered through our own adult lens, which can be clouded by our emotional baggage and deep-seated unconscious beliefs. We are not usually seeing things objectively. We are often clouded by unrelated thoughts, our own point of view, rather than our child's point of view. And most often, this happens completely unconsciously. And usually this happens because whatever age our child currently is, it is reminding us of some emotions we went through at a similar age. For example, we may have learned in our own childhood that emotions are bad, therefore our kids' emotions may be uncomfortable for us. Or another sign that you are being triggered could be pushing your children away and craving personal space on a deep level, because something similar happened to you as a child. And these issues create obstacles to collaborative communication with our child. We need to learn to actively listen to them in the present moment and become aware of their perspectives as well as our own. I also want to touch on the concept of attachment here. Research shows that secure attachment is crucial for our children to develop resilience and well-being. And if parents have unresolved trauma that hasn't been worked through, they may create a disorganized attachment for their children. There is a strong possibility that the disorganization within our minds can create disorganization in our children's minds. The good news is that research has also demonstrated that the child's security of attachment to parents is very strongly connected to the parents' understanding of their own early life experiences. So your early experiences do not determine your fate. It isn't what happened to you in your childhood that is a critical factor. It is how you make sense of how those experiences have influenced your life. Studies have shown that it is possible for parents to reorganize their minds and move to a secure adult attachment themselves, to then allow their children to grow securely attached as well. We can break the cycle and not pass it down to our own kids. Focusing on developing a mindful self-understanding will promote empathy for yourself first, and then for your children and for other people. Because remember, we cannot give what we do not have. So what can we do? The first thing that we should be doing is to really spend the time to reflect on our past experiences, to try to connect the dots and bring everything into a coherent story. Journaling is a great way of doing this because it helps you connect the right brain with the left brain. And I've already mentioned that when I did the video on emotional agility, if you wanted to take a look. You can also talk to someone like your husband, or if things are really tough for you, I really recommend seeing a counselor to help you process these events. What matters is that you really take the time to process these events, to make sense of them. And I know that this is very uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially if as a child you were never allowed to show your emotions. This is the only way to move forward and break the cycle. The second thing you should do is to reflect on arguments you've had with your children at the end of the day, because arguments are inevitable. They will happen. But it's important that you sit down and think about what happened and what you can do differently next time so you can make sense of it. So thinking about things like, why did I do what I did? Or why did I think that my behavior would lead to a positive change in my child? The more we process the arguments that we have with our children and when we get triggered, the more we can come up with solutions that we can apply next time. The third thing we should be doing is to repair the disconnection we have with our children as they occur by discussing the event with them. So saying things like, this has been very difficult for both of us to be fighting like this. I really want us to feel good about each other again. Can we talk about it? And just listen to your child, do not judge. And it's important to tell them that sometimes people, even parents, have meltdowns in which they cannot think rationally. Children need to hear this so that they can understand and actually have a coherent story about the fight. The next thing we should be doing is to learn to tolerate the tension in limit settings. And the author doesn't actually offer something specific, but what I'd like to offer you is something that's worked for me, is to tell myself I am safe when I get triggered. And another thing that I do as well, I have reminders plastered all over my walls in my house so that when I get triggered, my eyes get caught up in them and I can pause. And I've done a video before, and I will leave a link up here so you can actually have a look at what they look like. Another thing that works for us is that we have a code word with my husband. And if one of us says it, the other takes over immediately with no questions asked. And that really helps. And last but not least, please show yourself compassion in the process. Parenting is hard, but it is even harder when you have unresolved issues to deal with. And once you do all these things on a regular basis, the author tells us that some people have described the ability to observe themselves as if from a distance. And I can tell you that it's definitely been the case for me. That's it for today. Here is a summary of the book so you can take a screenshot on your phone. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and please leave me a comment and introduce yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and keep growing.